I play smarter. I invest with Morning Line. You build your stable. When they race, you earn. Buy, sell, trade, anytime. Morning Line. Own the game.
Hi everyone, David Aragona and Mike Beer here, taking a look at the finale on Future Stars Friday out at Del Mar, the Breeders' Cup. Race 10 is the Grade 1 Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf for the 2-year-olds, going the 1 mile distance on the grass around that Del Mar Oval. And this closes out that late pick 5 sequence that is comprised of all 5 Breeders' Cup races. You definitely want to do a deep dive into the handicapping of these Breeders' Cup races, and you can do so with our Breeders' Cup packages at DRF. The Players Package and the VIP package still available, and you can save $38 on the value of everything included. Got the all access PPs, the clock reports, betting strategies, the player's guide, and a lot more. Check out more information about this at shop.drf.com or by using that QR code on screen. Let's throw up the field of 14 entered for this Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, plus 1 AE. Caro Bono needs 1 scratch to get into this field. And Mike, once again, like we talked about in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Phillies Turf, there was supposed to be a heavy favorite into this race, but was done no favors when the draw was announced post 14 for Gestad, going out for Aidan O'Brien, who has the horses to beat in both the mile 2-year-old races around the grass course on Friday at Del Mar. But Gestad is going to have a tough time working on a trip from this draw.
Yeah, listen, he's come up just short in 3 straight major Group 1 races overseas. Added degree of difficulty for him here, breaking from post 14 as he tries again.
Let's take a look at the Timeform US pace projector for this juvenile turf, and plenty of European contingent in this race, so they will not be shown in this pace projector. Just for reference, Gestad is a horse that is not a front runner, but likes to race up close, somewhere in mid-pack, maybe the second flight of runners, so you could probably put him somewhere around 8, 9, and 11 on this pace projector. But Mike, the number 3 outfielder, has a lot of early speed. The number 13, Hey Nene, a horse that wants to be forward, but don't think he's going to be able to get in front of outfielder, especially given the fact that that horse drew an inside post position.
Yeah, the inside post position could really be to his benefit here. We'll see. I mean, I can't really argue too hard with this pace projector, David. I think they got the 3 right horses sort of up front in this race. It's just all about how fast they'll go. You know, when you have a 14-horse field here around 2 turns, you don't expect them to be able to walk up front. We'll see how fast this pace gets.
Let's go through this 14-horse field from the rail out, beginning with the number 1. Here's Johnny, a horse who is still a maiden coming into this Breeders' Cup, but he's finished second in a couple of graded stakes preps for this. The With Anticipation, where he was beaten by 2-time stakes winner Final Score 2 back, and then last time out in the Pilgrim Stakes, where he was right there on the wire with the winner Botas. And you could make the argument that here's Johnny covered a little bit more ground around the turns. He was 2 to 3 wide, whereas Botas got to save ground riding the rails every step of the way. Still had his chance in the late stages, Mike. Got turned away by that foe. He did draw well inside here, but it's asking a lot of a horse who's never won a race before.
Yeah, I don't love that. I'm a fan of this horse. I think he's run well all 4 times that we've seen him on the racetrack. He just happened not to have won a race yet. But he's pretty good. So I guess I sort of understand the inclination of these connections to try to, run him back in this race. And I guess it's kind of worked out for them. They drew a great post position here, and he could really fall into the right kind of a trip. I'm probably not going to bet him in this race, David, but I remain a fan of this horse. I think there's a chance that somewhere down the line, he turns out to be pretty good.
The number 2, Street Beast, is still pretty unexposed coming into this race. He's got a couple of victories under his belt, but both of them were earned in a short span at Kentucky Downs over that undulating grass course. Totally different from the kind of going he's going to get at Del Mar on Friday. But Mike, this horse has looked good in each of his last 2 wins. We'll take a look at the most recent of those in the juvenile mile, when he stretched out from a couple of sprints to try the mile distance over this Kentucky Downs grass course. And Mike, I think we handicapped this race for the DRF YouTube channel, and you might remember there was not much quality in this field, but when you're facing a group that you're just better than, you're supposed to beat them the way that Street Beast did.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like this was a good field, even with $1 million purse on the line, but he just absolutely buries these horses after sitting, a very handy trip in this race. He was also handy when he won 2 starts back. I don't know, David. I never know how to really evaluate these horses that have good form from Kentucky Downs, because it just seems like so many of them do not transfer it to other racetracks. That being said, this horse has the right running style for this race. He's looked really good in those last 2 wins, and I can just see him getting a really good trip in this race, maybe at a fair price.
Number 3 outfielder was a horse that was surprising to see entered in this race, at least to me, Mike, because you might remember he was entered, I think, in the Futurity at Aqueduct. He scratched out of that race. Wesley Ward said at the time he was scratching him out of these turf races to run in a dirt allowance at Keeneland because he believes this is a dirt horse. So suddenly he wins that dirt allowance race and he's entered in the juvenile turf back on grass. It's a little weird, but far be it for me to question Wesley Ward because the guy seems to know what he's doing with his horses. And outfielder did show ability on turf early in his career. A lot of speed in that 5-furlong maiden win at Churchill Downs, and didn't even run that badly when they shipped him over to France for the Grade 1 Prix Morny. But Mike, the distance is the big question with this horse, having never gone beyond 6 furlongs.
Yeah, we'll see if he stretches out. I mean, at least based on his pedigree, he's not supposed to have any issue with a longer distance. This female family is all distance, and there's a ton of turf in there as well. And so that's going to be the least of my worries here. We'll see how good he is. We're going to find out a lot about this horse in this race, but I thought he was really impressive when he won his debut. Easy speed in that race. He smashed that field. They took him overseas for the Group 1. He broke very poorly in that race before they rushed him up to the lead, and then he just wasn't good enough for horses like that. And I was just sort of kind of taken. I know it was a dirt race, and maybe Wesley Ward's right. Maybe he is a dirt horse, but he sat off other horses in that race, took over, finished it off going 6 furlongs. So I think there are things to like about this horse who's going to be a price. I think he is going to be on the lead. I think he is going to stretch out. Be interested to see how far he can take him.
Up next, the number 4, I'm guessing no relation to my co-host, Third Beer, a horse who was second in the Grade 3 Zuma Beach last time after winning his debut race against Calbreds at Del Mar this summer. I mean, he at least handled the mile distance over this course, Mike, doing it against weaker company, obviously. I've just got some real questions about the quality of the horses coming out of that Zuma Beach.
As do I. It's just not a race that I like overall. This horse ran fine in there. He got a decent trip in that race, and he was only second best. We'll see how much better he can do.
The number 5, let's be frank, is another maiden coming out of that Grade 2 Pilgrim who finished behind Botas, like Here's Johnny. This horse, though, was just making the second start of his career. He had shown real potential on debut, Mike, when he was going the 6 furlong distance and just finished like a wild horse at the end of that race to just miss at the end. They stretched him out in the Pilgrim last time, and you could make a fair argument that of the 3 horses coming back in here, he got the toughest trip of all because he was last early. He launched this 3 to 4 wide run around the far turn that would sap the finish of a lot of 2-year-olds, but he kept trying all the way to the wire. This horse is good. It's just asking an awful lot of him for a horse that was so inexperienced and green on debut to now conquer the Breeders' Cup in his 3rd start.
Exactly. I mean, that's really what I like least about this horse, because it's clear you can just go pull either of the replays of his races and you can tell that this horse can really run. I mean, he's got races with his name on it in the future, and some pretty good ones, I think. But to press on with a horse like him in his 3rd start into a race like this, I'm just not sure it's the right thing to do, because he's so green. Even in the Pilgrim, David, I mean, he makes this crazy early wide move in that race, and then even in the stretch of the race, he's trying to lug in over behind horses. He loses all of his momentum, comes running again. I mean, he's clearly very good, and he's the kind of horse I would try to use somewhere if I could in this race. I kind of wish they weren't running him yet.
Number 6, North Coast, is one of the European invaders for this race. He was a Group 3 winner at Leopardstown 2-back. Only beat 3 rivals that day, Mike. I wasn't too impressed by that replay. It just seemed like he wasn't facing much and dominated that race on the front end. He was no match for Gestad last time in the national stakes against Group 1 company. So I found him a little tough to make a case for.
Yeah, I feel the same way about him. I mean, he's got 2 big wins on his card, and in both of those races, he just got absolutely loose on the lead and went unchallenged. In his other races, when he did have to sort of work for it, I just didn't think he was good enough.
The number 7, Gordon Passett, is an interesting one to me, Mike, because this horse has improved so much from start 1 to start 2 to start 3. And if there's another similar step forward in this race, he could really put his hat in the ring to be competitive with this field. And he's coming off a performance that doesn't put him that far off some of the major contenders in here when he was 3rd in the Bourbon last time out. Because while the pace of that race might look like it was towards the fast side on paper, when you watch the visual, the replay, Mike, the entire field was bunched every step of the way. way. It was controlled on the front end by a couple of horses that were towards the inside and towards the lead every step of the way. And Gordon Pass was one of the only horses that was making a significant run from the back in the late stages. And he really finished like he had something left in the tank. He's got to run a complete race here because he's kind of running stops and starts in his prior races, but there is potential for this horse to be competitive with this field.
Yeah, I can't really add anything to that. I really thought he ran an underrated race in the Bourbon last time. If I was going to use him in here, I think it would be because I just wish he had run better in his prior 2 starts. I know he won 2 starts back. I really didn't like his maiden win that much. But man, he certainly moved forward last time. Maybe he can do it again.
The number 8 Stark Contrast was the winner of the local prep for this, the Zuma Beach. We already talked about that race for third beer, though. He only beat 4 rivals, Mike. I didn't think there was a whole lot of depth to that race, and he's just stepping up into a much tougher spot here.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's 2 for 2 on turf. They're both at this distance. He's going to be a huge price in this race. He doesn't have to ship, all those things, I guess, the intangibles you could throw in there and say at a big price, you can try to use them somewhere. I didn't like him.
You know the thrill of picking a winner. But instead of just running to the window for a quick payout, I play smarter. I invest with Morning Line. Morning Line is a more sophisticated way to use your skill and bankroll without putting it all at risk. Build your stable. When they race, you earn. Buy, sell, trade, anytime. Keep the action rolling without burning your bankroll. This is playing the ponies, elevated like a boss. Morning Line. Own the game.
The number 9 Argos is a Grade 1 winner up in Canada when he won the Summer Stakes last time out. It was his first start going 2 turns. He had sprinted in both of his prior starts, one at Ellis and the other getting a prep race up at Woodbine. We'll take a look at the replay of that summer as he's able to just hold off a late charge from Wild Desert in the late stages. Wild Desert, I think, would have been a horse that a lot of people might have liked in this Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. He was declared out of the race soon after the pre-entries were taken because, Mike, the runner-up in this race just got a much tougher trip than Argos did, who saved ground around the turns and just got as perfect a turf ride as you could possibly get from Flavien Prat last time. And we'll see if he can orchestrate another perfect trip for him, but I think he's got to improve a little bit on that last race.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, it's probably not fair to just say, well, he wasn't best last time, and so why would you like him in here? I mean, all 3 of his races are pretty good, and he's another horse who just he's gotten better every time they sent him out there. I don't know. I'm not betting him off his summer last time. He ran fine in that race, but I'm not betting him off of that race. This race is tougher than that one.
Up next is definitely the hardiest horse in this race, the number 10 Ardija, who is making the 12th start of his career, something you rarely see from 2-year-olds putting together this kind of rigorous campaign. But it seems like he stood up to it pretty well, Mike, and not just stood up to it. He's been thriving on the action recently as he has produced the best form of his career on the way in here. He'll be making his 4th start in 42 days if he runs in this Breeders' Cup. So it's been a flurry of activity into the fall of his 2-year-old season. He's never raced beyond 6 furlongs, so stamina is a big question for him. But it does feel like he's really on the up and up coming in.
It really does. Much respect to Hugo Palmer for, letting this horse run. You don't see this at all, especially stateside. You never see them run 2-year-olds like this. I love to see it. I do like the way this horse is standing up to it too. I'm not betting him in here.
The number 11 Turf Star, he was the runner-up in the Bourbon last time behind Final Score. Final Score was declared out of this race a couple of weeks ago with an issue, so that's why he's not in here. But Mike, of the 2 horses coming out of the Bourbon that we're going to talk about, I just thought Gordon Pass had a lot more to overcome than Turf Star did, who just sat on the rail and followed the winner around the track, and I didn't feel like did a whole lot of running in that race.
I didn't either. I mean, my initial inclination when I watched it was that, Gafflin was trying to look up the rail in the stretch. He didn't get there. He had to alter off and then run. But I'm not convinced that's really a valid excuse. I think he just ran the race that he ran in there, and he was second best. Okay, I think there's something there with this horse, David. He was really green in his first 2 starts. He was a little better last time. He's got tactical speed. He's a good gate horse, too, so I can see him from post 11 getting out of there well and maybe getting into position in this race. Again, there's something there with this horse. He's a huge price. I prefer other horses in here, but I can see myself maybe trying to get this horse in there somewhere.
Up next is the number 12 Boat Toss. He was the winner of the Pilgrim last time out to make it 2 for 2 in his career. Let's take a look at the stretch run replay of that Pilgrim, because there's a lot to see here, Mike. We already talked about Here's Johnny and Let's Be Frank. They are the second and third horses highlighted in this replay here, but Boat Toss is the one in those green silks that is squeezing through between horses. And yes, on paper, when you watch this replay, he got the best trip of these three runners because he saved ground around the turns. It was a great ride from Manny Franco, angled out in upper stretch, found room, and is able to accelerate to the victory. But I feel like this horse did a lot of the right things in the race that make me want him back here, Mike, because he took a hard bump once he got into the clear and upper stretch there. You can't even really see it on the pan. When you watch the head-on replay, he really took a hard hit from the horse inside him just as he was starting to hit top speed. And for the fact him to continue to run on through that and then dig in on the inside of Here's Johnny says to me that this is a horse that just has his mind in the right place and that he's going to be able to handle getting another good trip in a large field in this juvenile turf. And I still think he's got upside in just the third start of his career.
I agree with all that. And I also just feel like even though, it came down to basically a photo last time, to me, this horse was clearly best in that race. He's the horse that I would want out of there. And I also just really appreciated how much he was able to sort of get himself into a better position in the Pilgrim. In his debut, he was last early and had to pass the whole field. Last time, way more willing to put himself into the race, get a position up close to the pace, and then force his way into the clear. This horse is good. Listen, we haven't gotten to the Aidan O'Brien horse yet, but in a lot of ways, I feel like this horse has just about as much of a right to be the horse to beat in this race as the number 14 does.
And I know some people out there might be unwilling to back Manny Franco in a Grade 1 race. Manny Franco, for those who have not been watching the Aqueduct circuit recently, he has been riding lights out on the turf over the past month, so he can work out a trip on the turf. The number 13, Hey Nene, he is 3 for 3 in his career. 2 wins sprinting, 1 start routing, did it over this Del Mar turf course last time out in the Del Mar Juvenile Turf in September. We'll take a look at the stretch run of this race, Mike. And I mean, he does a lot of the right things in this race because you would think for a horse who showed so much speed sprinting in the first couple of starts, he would just run off on the lead here. And he didn't do that. They were able to rate him off another horse early. He took over from that rival and the race kind of falls apart behind him. And he still is able to hold off the closers to win this race convincingly. I'm not sure how strong this California turf division, though, is, and he's facing a tougher field and doing it from a pretty difficult post.
Yeah, I appreciated that he was able to rate last time, too. His races are fine. Like you, I'm sort of not sure how good these California turf horses are, and so it sort of had me looking for other horses, especially, too. There's a couple of speeds to his inside in this race, too, Davis. I don't think there's some kind of easy trip coming for this horse.
Rounding out the main body of the field on the outside is the likely favorite, the number 14, Gstaad. And as Mike said earlier, he's lost 3 in a row, all at the Group 1 level, has finished second in all of those races. But Mike, I think he's run pretty well in defeat every time. It's not like he doesn't go down without a fight. I mean, he lost a heartbreaking head bob too back in that national stakes where he did not want to lose and was battling all the way to the wire. And when I watched the Dewhurst last time, I did not feel like it was an ideal trip because the winner of that race just kept crossing over in front of him, veering down towards the inside, kind of broke the momentum for Gstaad a little bit. And he is not the kind of horse that has some big turn of foot. He's got to kind of grind his way into the race. And that's one reason why I think that stretching out to the mile is going to be just fine for this horse. He also has the physical stature to say that a little bit at a distance is really going to work for him. It's just a matter of whether or not he can save enough ground to get a trip from this post.
Yeah, it is. The trip is the whole key. I just, as far as the Dewhurst goes last time too, I didn't really love the way Sumion grabbed this horse early and sort of took him back out of position a little bit early. And then he had that horse in front of him that he just couldn't quite run down. I like all of his races. I get that he's the horse to beat in here, but it's not like there aren't obstacles for this horse to overcome, David. This is not an easy post. And I do think there are some decent horses to his inside here. So I'll try to beat this horse if he's a really short price.
Yeah, I know he hasn't done as much winning as Precise, who's the favorite in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf, but in terms of raw ability, I think he is every bit the equal in relative terms to the field he's facing to that filly. Well, before we get to picks for this race, I want to tell everybody a little bit about morningline.io. You can unlock access to some of racing's most coveted bloodlines, mares and colts connected to championship pedigrees. Morningline is a private SEC-regulated marketplace where approved participants can trade licensed interest in elite racehorses, no ongoing costs. Build your stable only at morningline.io. Let's take a look at our picks for this Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. And Mike, I think that you agree with me on the 2 horses that I've got picked first and second on here. Gstaad, obviously the horse to beat, and Botas, a horse who is going to be a much better price than him, is probably the second or third choice in this race that I just think has shown a lot of talent in both starts in New York. And I'm not too worried about the wide post for him because he's got a really versatile running style. You've got them in there, but you're going to try to wire this field with the number 3 outfielder.
I had Botas on top for a long time and just ultimately decided to take one shot here with outfielder. Obviously, he's going to have to prove it here. I don't think he's a really likely winner of this race. I don't have a ton of confidence in him, but I do like things about this horse, and I do think he's going to stretch out effectively in here. We'll see if he's good enough. I want this rider who handled him over in France, I want him to put this horse on the lead and see how far he can take them.
Oh, I'm pretty sure this horse is going to be on the lead early. We'll see how far he can go. 3, 12, 14, 2 for Mike, and 12, 14, 7, 5 for me in the race that closes out Breeders' Cup Future Stars Friday, the Juvenile Turf. Good luck if you're playing the Breeders' Cup this weekend.